Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, it's time for the final tier list, the general tier list for 2023. This is the 37th edition, meaning we've been taking off June and December to do the top 10s of each class, the best of the year, the best overall, top 20 for that. And yet we've still done 37 of these, myself and the MCoC Illuminati. You can see them listed right there on the side, also linked in the spreadsheet. Make sure you go and support every single one of them for sharing all of their knowledge and education and experience in this game with me to produce the spreadsheet. Now, I will go over the legend and give a little synopsis at the end of the video because I know so many of you are repeat viewers. Also, keep in mind that the spreadsheet, a screenshot size of the spreadsheet, will be linked on my Twitter, made by none other than Misty K, to make sure it looks great. And I'll put that up on my Twitter really as soon as possible, considering this is the only general tier list we'll be doing. And then, of course, we'll be doing the top 10s, which is a little bit different because it's mainly my perspective without the MCoC Illuminati. But I've got some tricks up my sleeve. We're cooking up something pretty cool. I think everyone's going to really enjoy. I know I'm very much enjoying putting that together for you as we head into the end of December here. So let's go ahead and jump into this. For those of you who are brand new to this, basically the way you get into these various tiers champions do is the most common question we get asked as YouTubers is, should I rank up this champion? And essentially, based on how I would knee-jerk answer that question, you end up in the tier. So here we go. And we will talk mainly about today, and there's a decent amount to talk about, the champions with the microphones, because that means their ranking has changed or there's something we want to point out, and we'll, of course, go over the new champions. So in the tier above all for Mystic, everyone has stayed exactly the same. No reason to really fiddle with that. The tier list has been in a great place for a long time now. So we move over to the top shelf, and if you're like, hey, should I rank up Hood? And the answer is, heck yeah. I don't even have to worry about it. I don't even have to think about it. I don't have to ask you where you're playing the game, what mode, any of that. Just, you end up in the tier, top shelf tier, right? So the first champion we're gonna get to is Kushala. Now, I'm sure, I hope most of you, all of you know, I got to help be part of that design process. My dear friend DLL, it's his fourth champion, and he produced another phenomenal champion. Now, here's interesting. Here's a little prediction from me on her. I think she's going to be the least, now that's a really high bar though, right? But I think she's going to be the least enjoyed by the masses of the community. I do think she is a little difficult to play, especially to get her high bar. There's nothing off the top of my head that I can think of that she just auto turns off. Nothing with her is automated. I've done a bunch of solo videos in Necropolis. I've shown you in short form. I've shown you taking down 7-star rank 3 Maestro tier 1 bosses in Masters a Level War. I've done the full how to play essentials video on her. She's phenomenal. She's amazing. I am so grateful I got to be part of that process. She is my favorite champion in the game for a variety of reasons. She has a nullify. She does massive, massive, massive incinerate damage. Then she also has the Soul Barb off of her SP2, and she has a very, very fun game mechanic in making sure or doing your best to achieve balance with her blessings. She is a sorcerer as long as having the Spirit of Vengeance. She's phenomenal. She's amazing. I am looking forward to playing her for a very, very long time in this game. I don't have my 7-star awakened, and when I do, she's going to get that much more powerful. So this is about where I see her because she doesn't automate anything. And I don't think there's any massive games and problems that are currently in the game that Kabam is throwing at us that I think she necessarily solves. I don't think she's going to be put in the tier above all. That's just my guess now. It's my estimation now, having played her a ton. But being in the top 2 tiers, being in the top 3 tiers in my spreadsheet means you are a very good champion. The tier list is definitely designed to show how many great champions are in this game. So make sure you evaluate that based on my tier list, right? We've gone over these sorts of things before. All right, now let's move on to Wong. Wong is a recent promotion. Obviously, he's very good in Battlegrounds for defensive purposes. Now, the one thing we've always kind of held against Wong in a lot of ways was that he is phenomenal in Ever's content, but up until about a month ago, that meant going back to Abyss of Legends that the vast majority of us who were playing at the end game had already done, or people who were new to the end game were like, it doesn't make sense for me time and unit-wise to go back and do it. The rewards weren't good enough. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm finally going to start getting out my Necropolis path guides and reviews based on my own experience. And I started using Wong in Path 2. About the middle of that, I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. He has vastly superseded even my expectations, even as a relatively new Wong player. There is a lot to manage. He is a sorcerer, so you're managing his spells and things like that. So I don't think he's going to be necessarily for everyone. But if you don't mind watching that, he does a phenomenal job of controlling the fight and allowing you to simplify it. Like I said, my Necropolis guides will be coming out. They'll be in the Necropolis playlist on my channel. You can check them out, and you're going to see a lot of Wong action. We'll be talking about how to go through that. Moving on to the super premium, we only have one champion to talk about. That's Werewolf by Night. I have a feeling by the time you actually see this video, depending on how soon you see it, he may already have been moved up. And if it becomes for certain and sure that he should be moved up, I will actually move him to the top shelf. I think that's ultimately where he's going to end up, but we try to stay conservative with new champions. Part of why I haven't moved him up yet, and this is why this is going to be a tough one, is I think he was very much designed to be a defender, right? If you look through all of the Kabam attributes and things like that, and the way he's talked about it, felt like he was supposed to be a defender. But what we're finding out with his power gain mechanic, and played very well, he is phenomenal. Now, we've seen this before with champions like Dragon Man, Hyperion, champions that are constantly gaining power, and we've talked about that a lot, and we've got a lot to get to today, so I won't belabor it, but pay attention to Bitter Steel's channel in particular for what's going to be some very impressive Werewolf by Night. Some of my alliance mates, I believe it's Char, have taken their Werewolf by Night up, and he is phenomenal. So my concern with him isn't that I'm worried he's so powerful he's going to get nerfed. It's more that my concern is that he's not doing what they wanted him to do. And so as long as he's within that realm of reasonableness of what they had, they being Kabam had pictured, I think we're going to be fine. And then we will definitely be moving him up to that top shelf category. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to mutants here. Moving into the mutant category, we have one new addition into the tier above all, and it is Onslaught. This is part of why we also waited till December to get this tier list out instead of doing it in November. It's just the way Onslaught was being talked about. I had a feeling he was going to be extremely powerful. Now, here's the thing, is I knew, or I felt confidently he was going to be a very powerful defender. But, oh boy, you're going to see this when we do the top 10s. In fact, if it wasn't for the kind of the culture here where we start off a little conservatively with a champion the first couple months, I would have him as the best mutant. I just would. I think he is. And one of the ways I'm rationalizing that or making sense of it all for myself is it's been a long time since we've had an incredibly powerful mutant, right? Like, we knew Danny had a lot of abilities that were powerful, but there's a lot to set up. And once you hit that SP2, it kind of all goes away. Toad feels like a very balanced champion. It can be very exciting against skill champions. I get that. But no one's ever trying to say that Toad's the best champion in the game. I don't think he was intended to be in that tier above all. He's doing a great job of what he was supposed to do. Good job, Toad. Onslaught is a different beast. Tom Jarvis and some other players, and I had already been thinking it myself too. He feels to me like an updated Apocalypse. If you were playing the game when Apocalypse came to the game, you know the Apocalypse just hit it running and was definitely already like, I think this is the new best mutant champion in the game. Well, here's Onslaught. Definitely a powerful defender, but this is more for offensive use. Seems like he's going to be amazing in Battlegrounds, great for war, and I think MSD has already put out solos of long-form content. I myself have a rank 5, 6-star Onslaught. I will be planning to ascend him, and I'm hoping to use him in the rest of my Necropolis runs. I think he's going to be well built for that. I think you're going to have to play him fairly well, but I'm not ready to put on the crazy high skill required emoji. Yeah, I am so confident that he's in the tier above all that I'm not doing the thing that we normally do, which is put them in the top shelf. And in fact, the restraint I'm showing is by not having him as the #1 mutant. Let me know what you think on that one, because it's one to wrap your head around as far as I'm concerned. And if you really like sit down and think about doing a tier list and then doing it month after month, I think it'll really hit you like how crazy that feels, and yet how rational it also feels simultaneously. Moving on to the super premium, we've got Strife, who is being used in Necropolis. I think, especially right now, with the best rewards in the game being from Necropolis, Strife potentially being very good for it. In fact, as I'm filming this, I am aware that later this evening, probably in about 3 to 4 hours, as I'm filming, Simula will be using his own Strife in Necropolis. If you're interested in that, or you have a Strife, or you're a Strife enthusiast, you want to potentially use them in Necropolis, make sure you go and check out Simula's stream. He'll be live streaming it tonight. So that'll be the night previous to the day this goes live. Obviously, Samuel will be leaving that stream up. You can go and check it out. Give him a subscription while you are there and get better at this game. Moving on to Storm, we saw Karate Mike do Horseman Storm. I theorized this in my Necropolis predictions video. Necropolis looks like it's going to be very worthwhile content for a very long time in this game, even as if the rewards ultimately become devalued due to like maybe this is 2 or 3 years from now from the filming of this. Going back and getting that mastery point will be a big deal for those of us who are playing the game. We know how important mastery points are. So Storm being able to do that, along with all the other capabilities that she has, I think really puts her into at least that super premium tier. And I know she has some big fans who would say she should be up even higher. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to Science. In the Science class, we have Titania, and she's ultimately one that's, I think, tough to quantify. When she first came into the game and we did her tier list, I recall saying, listen, I'm not totally sure yet where she's going to be usable. Much like I just said about Kushala, Titania doesn't have something that she's just shutting off, except for being buff immune. And we did talk about that. I said, a champion that can go indestructible, unstoppable, and unblockable passively, plus having buff immunity, we're going to find uses. It's just not obvious what they are yet. Well, I think we have found a ton of uses. In fact, I think we found more than probably were imagined. I think she genuinely has an argument to be the best Science champion in the game. Yes, above Scorpion. Scorpion's only available as a 6-star, and we're seeing rank 3-7 Titanias, so it's almost getting difficult to measure them apples to apples. Ultimately, I'm not that worried about it. They're both up there. I kind of would have them in their own special tier, but like you've heard me say many times before, one of the main reasons this tier list is formatted the way it is because I want everyone to see how many amazing champions there are, and I feel like the more we get it spread out with the more tiers, the more it starts to seem like, oh, well, they're in the 5th tier, so they must not be good. And that could not be farther from the truth. When you see our 3rd and 4th tier, there's a very good champions that can help you clear content. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We got OG Hulk. Really probably should have been updated to this tier a while ago. The day his buff went live, I fell in love with him, did a solo of Gauntlet, Doom, and then also did an Essentials video, I think within like 48 hours. Given my typical time schedule, that's a lot of work and time put in. Shows you how powerful I think he is. So that's awesome to see. Moving on to the top shelf, I think we have one champion to talk about. Yeah, Spider-Man. Bitter Steel and BMcG have been showing us the way with Spider-Man. Originally, we thought, oh, he's more for newer players and that sort of thing. But particularly if you can put on some power back boosts, or even if you can't, you're using him in Battlegrounds where you can't be using those boosts, he's doing massive, massive damage. And then again, in Battlegrounds, you throw him on defense, and this is becoming a thing again. You've got to go back a long time in this game where your Spider-Verse Spider-Man characters, Spider-Gwen, I guess, too, were really annoying evade champions. It feels like that is having a big renaissance right now. Part of why I think Venom has gotten a promotion too, but we'll get to that. So make sure you check out those channels, BMcG and Bitter Steel, for your Spider-Man. Because I know a lot of people have used him, and I know he's also a very popular character that people want to use. I'm motivated to use mine. I'm sure you are too. And that is it for the Science class. Let's move on to Tech. Moving on to Tech, we made the adjustments to the tier above all already, and you're going to want to check out the top 10. You want to check them all out for sure, in my opinion. But Tech, I've already started working on that, and it's interesting. Let's put it that way. But I believe it. I believe it. So go ahead and do that. I'll do a little tease for that video. Moving on to the tier of top shelf, we've got OG Iron Man. Now, I've done the video showing you, like, look, I actually did a video on taking him to rank 5. I'm not taking a lot of 6-stars to rank 5 these days, but I was very happy to do it with him. Then I use him so much in War, SSX, Masters War Alliance, with 2 deaths, 3 deaths. Very, very common for us to have such low scores. And I was using my Iron Man over and over and over. He does amazing damage. Yeah, it can take a minute to get there. It can. I'm not going to tell you it can't. But he's so darn tanky as he goes. He's got the immunities. And then once that damage gets going, oh my good God. Massive, massive damage. Really a phenomenal champion. I love him. One of my most desired 7 stars. Yes, even unawakened. Okay. Now we move on to Hulkbuster. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love the Karate Mike, and leave it to Karate Mike to do this. I've known the Hulkbuster is phenomenal for so long, but I didn't have the chutzpah to do it, to just do the ranking. I wish I had. You know, I ranked him up. I was telling you how great he was. I did the rank 3 review video on him, what feels like years ago. And now Karate Mike takes him uses him in Necropolis, the hardest, biggest, longest content in the game, and demolishes with it. I absolutely love it. It almost, honestly, almost might get me to go back and do Incursion so I can try to pull that beast of a champion. So glad he's up there, and he's not just good in Everest content. Moving on, we've got Buff Shocker. Buff Shocker, this is one where when we do the top 10 videos, this is a process I've seen every year now that we've started doing the top 10s and the semi-annual in June and December. There's always a champion that when we hit January, just rockets up or down. Shocker is my prediction to go up, and I'm already starting to reflect that, and the Illuminati is too. I have a feeling once we're done with the war season, battleground season, and Onslaught makes more and more of his presence known as a defensive menace, the stock of Shocker is going to continue to rise. And in an interesting way, I think the 7-star would be great, don't get me wrong, but I think you're going to find yourself often wanting the 6-star because you're able to get him to that really nice high sig, which is great for his SP1 into the SP2 rotation. Moving on to the super premium tier, we now have Red Skull, who's been recently buffed. It seems like a phenomenal buff with very unique power control capabilities and enough damage to pull it off. He's also become a defensive menace. He's on my AQ path, and I cannot stand fighting him. I don't have a ton to say about him except for he seems exceptional, and I think he's going to be one of these champions that we kind of need to get our hands on because his power control is a bit different. He's got, the believe is the SP2 Unstoppable, right? And then you can get your armor ups more fluidly now just through the basic combos and things like that. I'm very excited about playing him, really getting a go. The thing is, so many of us don't have highly ranked Red Skull, so what is going to happen is we'll get on that CCP server, rank him up, test him out, and then need to rank him on live accounts so we can use him in Battlegrounds, War, and things like that. He's one for me to keep an eye on. I do think his ceiling is top shelf. I really, truly mean that. Moving on to Spider-Man Stark Enhanced. Campo has recently ranked his quite highly and has been showing me videos. I, again, think in January, come January, Red Skull and Spider-Man Stark Enhanced, very much, I would be willing to almost bet that one of them has moved up to top shelf, if not both. And I do think doing the top 10s will reflect that and kind of be a bit of a forewarning or something like that, or a little bit of foreshadowing in them moving up in this general tier list. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to skill. Moving on to skill, tier above all, we do have one promotion, and it's Kate Bishop. Now, I've been telling you, she's the best. I've been saying this for a very, very long time. This isn't an I told you so, because that no one enjoys that. This is more of a like, guys, I don't often say these things, but when I do, please listen to me. I wanted her, I was pleading with people, please vote for her for the 7-star, not Shang-Chi, despite seeing how amazing Shang-Chi is. He was my first rank 3 6-star. So I get it. He's phenomenal. Maybe it's rank 4. Either way, you get the point. That's not the point. Stop arguing with me. Kate Bishop is amazing. And, you know, I did the video showing her in Battlegrounds. I've been showing her in War. And then now we have long form content. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take her onto that testing map with CCP. And she was obliterating like 9 million health. She was a beast in my Path 1 and my Path 2 Necropolis. And I feel confident I'm going to be using her in Paths. I think it's 5 and 6 a ton too, if not 3 and 4 as well. She's phenomenal. She does have a very high skill ask. And it's different than the skill ask for like a Tiger or something like that. So the skills aren't immediately transferable, but she is worth it. She is fun, and you are richly, richly rewarded for pulling it off. Okay. You can lose your ramp. You saw me do it. I've shown you these things, but she's phenomenal. She handles so many of the problems that are in the game. None of them, I'm trying to think of any of them. I don't believe any of them are automated. So she's not just turning something off for you, but if you play her well, she will start to help you minimize the amount of threats a node or a defender can throw at you. I absolutely love her. She is phenomenal. DLL did an amazing, amazing job of designing a champion who can produce significantly wonderful results for you, but also asks you to do a lot in order to achieve said results. Moving on to the top shelf, we've got Chilith. We had her actually lower in super premium, but Bitter Steel has actually pulled her, and he's doing some really cool stuff. I know I'm talking about him a lot in this video, but that's because the young man knows what he's doing when it comes to this game. Keep an eye on his channel, showing a lot of her utilizing the cleanse, but also her damage is significantly better than I imagined, and I think that even really smart players thought it would be. Moving on to the rest of skills. Skills actually looking really good right now. And so that is all the changes that we have for December. Let's go ahead and move on to Cosmic. Okay, Cosmic's the final class. No changes in tier of all. I think that makes sense. It's not shocking to anyone. Into top shelf, we have 2 champions moving up. One is my very own Venom. I know. I have a couple viewers, former Alliance mates, who hopefully are like, are you now satisfied? I hope you are. He's phenomenal. I've recently taken him to rank 2 myself. Oddly enough, I actually did it for AQ, or not for AQ. AQ is what managed to give me enough reason to get it done. Let's put it that way. It gave me the motivation, because I do recognize how great Venom is. He's phenomenal, and you know what? You throw on the Venom Relic, and the bleed damage is incredible. In fact, I'll probably get that out, just in case people are like, okay, I've heard it's really good, but can I see it? And it is shocking. It is shockingly good. He also can heal back up off that SP1. Stupid Red Skull, as I mentioned earlier, though, will not allow me to nullify his armor up buffs, which is really annoying because Venom's SP1 is considered a nullify, but that's a problem for a different video. Moving on to Gamora, I theorize that she would be good in Necropolis, and I will be showing you that she is, I don't know if she's essential. She's very, very helpful. Came along with me on path 1, handling some problematic fights, and at the moment, she's actually my favorite counter to the Grandmaster, which is a fight that you want to have counters for. Trust me, he is a frustrating Grandmaster. Like her, and remember, if you get to that SP3, you're getting up a true strike. So she has ways to help her do that. I will show you that in my Necropolis path 1, I believe it is, against the Guardian fight. It's not that hard. You can do it. Moving on to the super premium tier, we have Maestro. Really cool to have him in the game. I think there's a lot of unknowns with him. He definitely was built as, or designed, or told to us was going to be a very strong defender. I don't think he's hitting the ground quite as impressively offensively as Werewolf is, but he does seem to be a very strong defender. You saw me solo him a few times with my Kushala, but that was a rank through Kushala as well. Not a lot of those running around in the wild right now. In Battlegrounds, I love using my America Chavez to fight him. So he does have some counters for the modes, but he doesn't have a default just counter. Keep that in mind. He's a very tough defender, and if you can rank him up and then also use him offensively, right? If you can place him in your Battlegrounds deck or your Alliance War defense, and then also use his champion, I believe it was BMcG has shown videos of him being used offensively. He's got the nice Fury and various ways he can go about this. Some really nice synergies too. I like Maestro. What I want to see is essentially more. We are entering a different time of year, right? Where as we enter into December, a lot of people still very much focused on Necropolis. And so I think it's really going to be January, February as more people finish Necropolis and really start to use him. We see what sort of modes and challenges are presented. He's a champion for me that if what he does is asked for, will of course be moving up. But I do think what will have to happen is that there's defenders, modes, or nodes that he is specifically wonderful for in order to move him up. And even then, I do think his ceiling is top shelf. I just don't see a path for him to get up there with Hercules, Hulking Gallon, and Cosmic Ghost Rider in the tier above all. Okay, that was the final tier list for 2023. Of course, like I said, we'll be going through the top 10s of each class, the best top 10 of 2023 release champions, and of course the top 20 overall in game. And I've got some new stuff. I'm cooking up some things. I think you're gonna have some fun. I'm having a lot of fun putting it together. We'll very quickly check the legend and the quick little preamble, which is always rank up the champion you enjoy. I'm very happy that I see this now in other YouTubers' tier list videos or streams. They're really saying that. And it's really cool for me because I truly have meant what I've been saying for a very long time, which is not only is it fun, a game, and it should be fun, you should rank up the champions you enjoy, but pragmatically, you're going to play them better. So if you love Cassie Lang, okay, even though I have Titania ranked higher, you could often use them for similar purposes. And if the fight is very difficult and the node's very difficult and you know how to use Cassie and you've been playing her a lot, you're going to play her and get much better results than you would with Titania, in a vacuum. And so you're actually going to make them a better champion than they are on my tier list. This is meant to be a snapshot, a fun conversation, a very helpful and educational one too. And then you go and you check out the champion, you play them yourselves, you watch some videos, and then you make up your rank up decision. As you look at the legends, we've got the star there. So rank up is dependent on the awakened ability, meaning they might still be good without it, but to be placed where we have them, they need to be awakened. The cheers, champagne flutes, I guess they are, is that similarly, the ranking is dependent on a synergy or synergy. So think about like Agent Venom for that one. The rocket is they're going to get a big boost from high or max sig. The little joystick is crazy high skill required. You'll see a lot of the DLL champions have that requirement. He likes to build them that way, and then you get rewarded though for it. So I like that system a lot. It's become probably my favorite in all of the game. The skull there, very recoil mastery friendly, right? I think that makes enough sense. Those of you sometimes ask, this champion's dual immune, but why don't they have it? It's because that champion typically is wanting to throw a lot of specials and they're not healing. So sure, if you're confident with it and you want to use them for 1 or 2 fights, you're going to be fine. But to put it on a spreadsheet and tell people to go forth and run recoil, they're going to often end up very disappointed as they try to use that champion in a full quest or something like that, because they're going to be throwing specials and losing health that they're not going to be healing back. The microphone talked about in this video, as we've gone over, the little heart and envelope, just to show people how many champions have been buffed. This goes back years, or at least a year, I think, when we decided to add that. The next one, go Ask Sweeto with the little video game monster. That's mainly for the champion. The Everest content, you see that broken in enough places. That one I think is pretty self-explanatory. The dice, it's early. It's a prediction. You know, buyer beware sort of thing with any of those things. The little floppy disk is dependent on a certain relic. Thanks to Joey for that joke. I love that one. And then the cross swords is that BG's now has its own tier list. You know, we've been doing the best 6 stars to rank in Ascent, best 7 stars to rank, because in my opinion, that's not just this overall tier list. Although as the 7-star becomes more and more mature, we probably will start dropping the best 6 stars or the best 7 stars, but I think we're going to get well into next year before we do that and really just go back to only this tier list. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. It's been another phenomenal year. I'm looking forward to all the top 10s and everything. I'm looking at my calendar, everything we have in store for the end of 2023, and then of course the beginning of 2024. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful end of the year. Thank you so much for coming along and celebrating all of this with me and making this part of your MCoC experience. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.